Welcome again to the Joy of Editing with Dave Kelly. On today's episode, we're continuing to look at Topaz Studio 2. We just got done with the flare filter. I hope you enjoyed that one. Today we're looking at another very interesting and kind of a challenging filter. It's called the Glow filter. It's a nice filter, and I think you're going to love it once you understand how it works. And I think you'll use it in your workflow, and I think you're going to get really nice and happy results with it. So let's get started and check out the Glow filter. We're starting out today inside of Photoshop, and let me just show you what I did here. This is the image we're working on today, this nice line right here. And the Glow filter is really a cool filter, and it works really well on fur, believe it or not. I mean, it works well in a lot of images, but I thought I would show you on an image with some fur, and this majestic line is a good way to start. So let me show you. This is the before, and we're going to make something that looks something like this. That's the Glow filter. You see all the little hairs glowing around here on the face and so on and so forth. That's the Glow filter. It's really cool. I also did another image over here and this little puppy here. We're not going to work on this one today, but I'm going to show you a more subtle approach with the Glow filter, and that's on this little puppy. So here's the before and here's the after. So I added, you can see these little dark lines in his face here. I think it looks a lot cuter. So that's a more subtle approach. So there's the before and there's the after. Let's come back up to our line and get started. Let me shut this eyeball off right here. And I've already duplicated this background layer, so let's go in this background copy here. Let's come up here to filter. Let's come down to Topaz Studio. You know the drill, Topaz Studio 2. I click that with my mouse, left click it, and into Topaz Studio 2. Now the first thing I always like to do, and this image is a little bit soft. Let me zoom in here. You can see it's a little bit on the soft side here. This is a stock image, by the way. So let's come up here to add filter. Let me click on my AI clear. I just love it. But look how much detail this has brought out. This is a smaller resolution image, so let me just back up a little bit here. But here is the before and here's the after. But it really did a nice job. It's altering the color a little bit. So I'm going to come up here and go to actually the blend modes here, normal, and let's change it to luminosity. And let's click the eyeball, and here's the before and here's the after. So that kind of fixes that color shift, and it just sharpens up our image a little bit. And so let's come up here to add filter, and let's come down to the Glow filter. Here we go. I'm going to give it a click. Okay, so we have the opacity slider here. We have the blend modes. We have this little icon to, if we come up with some settings that we like, we can save them as a preset, which will really come in handy with the Glow filter because you might find some really unique looks and you may want to save them as presets. Down below here, we have the presets. Remember, they changed that in the latest update of Topaz Studio 2. So let's click on presets. And here's some presets. They give us 4 presets to start out with. And then we have this icon here. You can see more presets at once. Especially you might have a ton of presets in here, and that might be a nice look to see them. Okay, so click this icon. Again, we'll go back to the single preset view. To get rid of your presets, just click on this area where it says presets, and they'll go hiding again. All right, so we have 2 different types of glows. We have a primary glow and a secondary glow. And believe me, these 2 types of glows, they both work the same. Think of it as having 2 filters in one. You start out with a primary glow, and if you want to add some additional glow to that, be it a light or a dark glow, you can do that right here. All right, and we'll get into that shortly. So we're going to start out with the primary. So let's take the primary glow strength and let's move it to the right, and let's see what this wonderful Glow filter does. Here's where the magic starts. So move this to the right, and you see what's happening to the image? And let's go the whole way to the right, and you can see. So you might want some really cool, interesting, artistic look or something like that. So you might want to move it the whole way to the right. You might say, well, that looks really awesome. For this image, I don't think so, but let me just move it to a place where I think it might look kind of nice. So I'm just going to add a little bit of primary glow to that. You see what's happening, the dark, and it's in the dark mode, so the edges are all dark and they're getting darker. All right, and the image is getting a little softer too and glowy. And now we're going to come to the primary effect sharpness and move it to the right and see what happens. Those lines start to sharpen up a little bit, taking on a more like a sketchy type look. And I think that looks really nice. So we can move it the whole way to the right or just move it a little bit just to sharpen up those edges a little bit. I'm thinking right around there. Here's a cool one here, the primary electrify. I love this one. So watch what it does. It makes those edges even bolder and more like a sketch. And I think that looks really cool. This is a really nice filter, especially on fur, but it'll work in more things than fur. The possibilities are pretty much limitless. So experiment in different images. You might come up with an image that you didn't think the glow filter will work on, and it may work beautifully on it. So give it a shot and give it a try. You'll never know unless you experiment. All right. My job is just to show you what these controls do so you can say, I'm going to try that on something. So that's what I'm all about, helping you to understand how this works. So I like that right about there, and I think that looks really nice. And now let's go to the primary simplified details, move it to the right. As you can see, those details are getting a little simplified. And so think of this as like a fine-tuning adjustment. Let's just find a spot that we like. Right around there looks good. Primary edge color, let's move it to the right, and it adds a little bit of color to the edges. And you may or may not like it. I'm just going to double click primary edge and set it back to its default position. All right, so now let's slide down and see what else we got here. We have primary detail strength. Let's move that to the right and see what it does. Gets that real sketchy look. Okay, move it to the left, and we could get rid of some of that primary detail strength. And again, think of it as like a fine-tuning adjustment. Let's double-click it. There's the default position. Move it to the left. Okay, move it to the right. Maybe somewhere right around in here. Looks good. I'm going to leave it maybe right around there. Primary detail size, let's bump it to the right. Makes those details a little more defined, or a little larger, I guess. It is dealing with size. So let's just tweak around, and I'm thinking maybe right around there looks good. Now, primary brightness, this will brighten up everything and darken everything to the left. Right, lighten, left, darken. I'm just going to double click it because I thought it looked good right where it was. And we can add some more contrast to it or pull contrast away to the left. So add contrast to the right, remove contrast to the left. I'm just going to double click it because I think it looked okay. Primary saturation, we can add more saturation or pull it to the left. Add less saturation. Double click to send it back to where it was. And then we have primary line rotation. That'll rotate the lines around a little bit, and you can see what's happening there. The image is taking a different look. I'm moving it to the right, and of course you can move it to the left too. Change the direction the way the rotation is going. I'm just going to double click it because I like the line look. I think it looks really nice. And now we have the primary glow spread. So if you move this to the right, if you look closely at the lines, it spreads them out a little bit as you move this to the right. Pull it back, the lines will get back to the normal position. But again, to the right, it spreads them out. To the left, it pulls them back to where you adjusted it to originally. So that's the primary glow spread. And now we come to the finishing touches. So we have effect coverage, coverage transition, sharpness, and sharp radius. So let's start with the sharpness. Move the sharpness to the right, and we sharpen up the image. And then we have the sharp radius. So if you move the sharp radius to the right, you're going to encompass more pixels. Move it to the left, less pixels and finer details. Okay, so let's move the sharp radius here and just find a little spot that we like. And I think that looks good. Maybe right around in that section there. Now let me take my sharpness, move it to the right a little bit, move it to the left, and just get it looking just to the amount of sharpness that we like. And I think maybe right there looks pretty good. Now let's go to the effect coverage. And this adds sort of like a vignetting effect to the glow. So the best way to explain this, I think, is to take the effect coverage. And I always start here by taking the effect coverage and moving it the whole way to the right, taking the coverage transition and moving it the whole way to the left. And we see this nice soft glow over the entire image here. So now the way I like to adjust this is to take the coverage transition and move it to the right, and see that little circle open up in the center. Now this is always going to start in the center. You can't move it or alter it, so remember that it always starts in the center. So what I like to do is take that coverage and just open that up a little bit, get a decent sized little circle there in the center, because this is the area I want that effect I just made to show through at in all its strength and all its glory. And now I'll take the effect coverage and then just move it to the left, and it'll spread out a little bit into the rest of the image. And right around there looks pretty good. Now I'll take the coverage transition and tweak it. Work back and forth between these two sliders till you get the effect that you like. And again, think of basically like a vignetting effect around the edges. So find a spot that you like. So you move it to the left, that spot gets tighter. Move it to the right, it kind of widens out on the transition. So maybe somewhere right around there looks pretty good. And that's how the effect coverage works. All right, let's come back up to the top of the adjustment. Now let's come to we worked with the primary. Now let's take a look at the secondary and see what this has to offer us. So let's click on secondary. I'm going to stay in the dark mode. I could go to the light, but I find going to the light with the dark doesn't really work so well. If I usually want to add a light glow, I'll come and add a second glow filter. So I'm going to stay in dark, but experiment and see what you think. You may want to try that. You might get great results by adding light to a dark. So I'm going to leave it on dark, and let's take up the secondary glow strength and see what happens. Okay, so you see those lines are getting, they're getting a lot bolder there. And we may want to look like that, and that looks pretty cool. But I'm just going to, let's just add a little bit here. Just add a little extra line there. And let's come to our sharpness, and we can sharpen that up. And that may be getting a little bit overboard there, but you can see these lines in here. And of course we have masking. We can mask stuff out because we may like what's happening around the edges on the fur around the line here, but not really liking it so much. But let's take that glow strength back and tweak. Maybe I just want I might just want just a little bit in there. And of course, we can come and adjust all these other adjustments here, which I've already done. And to be honest with you, I don't like the secondary on this one, so I'm just going to double click secondary glow strength and secondary effect sharpness and get it back to where I had it. So let's click on the canvas here. There's our before and there's our after. Now, don't forget, when you're all said and done with your adjustment, come up to opacity and pull it back. Okay, maybe take it the whole way off. I always like to take it the whole way off and build it up slowly and just add just the amount that you like. So I always tend to overdo, and the opacity slider saves me so much. So, okay, so maybe let's go maybe right around 76%. So let's click on the canvas. There's the before and there's the after. So I think that's pretty cool. Now that's the dark glow. So now let's come up and come to the eyeball here and give that a click and shut that off. And let's start from scratch, but this time let's work with the light glows. All right, so we're going to come up to add filter, come down to the glow filter and give that a click. And now, instead of being in the dark mode, we're going to click on light, and now we're going to start with the light mode. Now, in the light mode, all these controls are going to work the same. The only difference here is we're working with lights instead of darks. Okay, so let's take the primary glow strength and start to move it to the right and see the nice, cool lighted lines lighting up. It's pretty cool. Imagine neon lights on signs and things like that. It's really cool. But we're working with Mr. Lion today. And so we're going to give it about that much glow strength. Let's do the sharpness. And again, we can sharpen up those lines a little bit. Use the primary electricity. We can pull that up. We can go crazy and pull it way up. Look at that. Okay, depending on what kind of a look you want. So let's just, I'm not going to go overboard, but I would like to. But I'm going to restrain myself. So let me pull this maybe to about that position right there. Looks pretty good. And let's come down to the simplified details, do some fine tuning here. Let's fine tune that up a little bit, maybe right around in there a little bit. Let's look for some edge color, see what that does. Maybe just a little bit of edge color, not much. Let's go to the primary detail strength. Give it more strength, give it less strength. Like what it's doing in the hair, but I don't like what it's doing to the face. So we might try some layer masking on this one. So maybe right around there looks pretty good. And I'm basically looking at the hair here, not so much his face. And let's come down to the detail size. And adjust the detail size. Yeah, I like some of that in there. Looking pretty good. Now we can play with the brightness. And I'm just going to double click it. And the contrast, let's play with that. Add more contrast, less contrast. Maybe a little bit of contrast makes those lights really pop. Even the face I'm not liking so bad now with a little bit of contrast. So that really helped that there. Okay, and let's go to primary saturation. Yeah, we can make it black and white, almost black and white. But that looks kind of cool. Let me just double click primary saturation. And of course we can rotate the lines to the left. Rotates them one way, to the right rotates them the opposite. And double click. I generally don't like the line rotation, but that's just me. You may love it. And let's come down here to the primary glow spread. That'll widen those lines out a little bit if we want that. Kind of like it widened out a little bit, maybe right around in there. And of course we have the effect coverage. We're down to finishing touches and coverage transition. Let's go to sharpness first. Add a little bit of sharpness. Yeah, I like a little sharpness. Try the radius. Maybe somewhere in there. Just tweaking the sharpness a little bit. Don't want to overdo it. That's looking pretty good there. And let's try the effect coverage. Remember my little trick? Move this the whole way to the right. Move the coverage transition the whole way to the left. And then start to open up the little hole that comes here in the center by moving the coverage transition. Start to slowly move it to the right. And you can see that circle starting to pop in there. And then come back to the effect coverage and start to move it to the left. Find a nice little point, maybe right around in there. And let's work with our transition a little bit. And I kind of like the softness around the edge of his fur out there, which is kind of nice. So maybe right around in that position there. And that's looking pretty good. Let's click on the canvas here. There's the before and there's the after. Let's come up to the opacity here and let's pull this the whole way off. And let's just slowly build it up. And I'm liking, again, I like the outer edge here, but I'm not such a big fan of what's happening in the center. But let me get that outer edge looking just the way I like it, maybe right around there. And it does help to whisper. So now let's come up to the layer mask. Come up to this top glow layer and click on the layer mask and come to this section right here. Let's click on a brush. I think what I'll do is shut my edge aware off so I have a nice smooth transition. And I'm going to take this transparency and move it. I want a dark brush here, but I don't want necessarily a black brush, so I may want to leave some of that effect on. So I may start with the transparency right around this color of gray here. Now, let me just come here with my brush. I'm going to make my radius a little bigger on my brush, and I'm just going to come into the center here and just paint a little. I don't want to touch his whiskers. I like what's happening on his whiskers. Okay, and that might be, that's a little strong there. You see that? It looks a little unnatural. So what I'm going to do is, I could come here and I could click clear and come back and take this transparency and take it up even more, like maybe right around in here. Let's take it off his eyes here a little bit, maybe a little bit off of here, a little bit off the nose area in here, just a little bit off in there. Let me even take this up and move it up a little bit more. And just take a little bit off of here and right off his mouth there a little bit. Maybe a little bit off of here and up around the fur right in here. That looks pretty good, I think. So you can play. So remember, you can alter this transparency. You could paint it several times, you know. You could start out black and see what it's doing. And if you don't like it, you can reset or just change it to white and paint over that area and you'll erase what you just did. But in my case, I reset it or cleared it by clicking here and clicking on clear. And then, I readjust my transparency. So whenever you move this transparency slider, you can see this color of, it starts here on black, but then you can move to the various shades of gray. But when it's shades of gray, you're removing different varying amounts of that effect off the image. But I think right there looks pretty good. So let's look at a before and after. I'm just going to click on my canvas. There's the before and there's the after. And you know what? One last thing I might do is come to the brush. I'm still in the brush, so let me take my transparency the whole way to the left, make my radius small. I'm going to take it off the eyes. Where is my radius? I have it down too far. Maybe right around there. Okay, so let me just take it off the eyes here. I don't want it on the eyes. There, I want that lion's eyes to be really popping through. He's the king of the jungle, you know? So there you go. So let's click here. There's your before and there's your after. What do you think? I think that turned out really nice. Oh, I almost forgot to play with the secondary glow. So let's come up to our glow layer and give that a click. That gets rid of the mask. And let's click on secondary and let's just see. Let's make sure we're in the light mode. And let's just see what happens if we bump our glow strength up some more. So we can add a little extra glow in there if we like it. Do we like it? Yeah, I'm not sure if we like it or not. There, and let's do our sharpness. Maybe right around there. Let's do electrify. Here's where you can really add that, a lot of boldness to your lines there with that electrify. And that looks kind of cool, but not the vision I have today. But I'm thinking, no, for the vision I have today, I'm just going to leave it the way it is. So let me double click secondary electrify, secondary effect sharpness, and secondary glow strength. I'm just going to leave it the way I had it. I liked it. But don't forget to play with these secondary glows as well. They work just the way the primary does, but only they're adding a little extra glow to the effect you already have. So for this image, which glow do we like best? Do we like the light glow or the dark glow? Well, let me click off the light glow eyeball here so we can see the original. Let's click on the dark glow eyeball so we can see that there's the dark. That's the original. There's the dark. All right, now let's click on the light. There's the original, there's the light. Let's go back to the dark. I think I'm sold on the light. What do you think? Let me know in the comments below. Did you like the light or did you like the dark? Let's just see if we combine the two together. So we have the light on. Now let's add the dark with it. And you can see there's a light and a dark together. So I can come here to glow and let's play with the opacity on the dark. Take it the whole way off and maybe blend a little of the two together. Might be nice. Two different glow filters, one light, one dark. Man, I like that. I think I'm going to combine the two. Didn't think I would do that, but on a hunch I thought, let me try it, and it worked. So when we're all said and done, if we like this, let's just come up here and click on accept. That'll bring us right back into Photoshop, and let's click this background copy eyeball. There's the before and there's the after. Now once we're back in Photoshop, we can come up here to the opacity of the background copy layer, and let's just pull this the whole way off, and then let's just slowly move it up to the right. And maybe we might say, do we want it the whole way or do we just want a little bit in there? So that looks kind of cool. It's 74%. It's kind of hard to tell I put a glow in there, but if I shut the eyeball off, you would definitely see it. Look how it smoothed the image out, and I just think it looks really, really nice. But if I want that little more artistic edge, I would take it the whole way up. Okay, but I am going to back it off a little bit to maybe around 80%. So here is the before and here's the after. What do you think? I think it turned out really nice. Now that I'm really looking at this image, the only thing I don't like about it is I think this face is a little bit too light in respect to the outline of the fur or the hair. I've been calling it hair, but it's probably fur. So let me go here down to the add an adjustment layer right down here. Give that a click and click on brightness contrast. And what I'm going to do is just bring the brightness back a little bit, maybe somewhere right around in there. And this brightness contrast layer comes with a layer mask. So I'm going to invert that layer mask by using the shortcut Command I or Control I on a PC. That makes it a black layer mask hiding the adjustment. And we need to have a white brush. So it defaults at black and white. So if you use the shortcut key of X, we'll change it to a white brush. And I'm going to make sure my opacity is, right now it's at 50%, and I think that's good. So I'm just going to paint with a white brush and just darken some of this area around here. I don't want to touch his eyes here. I want those to be nice and bright. And I'm just going to paint on some of these areas here and just tone this down a little bit. Just a little bit. Around the edges there, maybe a little bit right there. And let's click the eyeball here. Here's the before and the after. See, it just toned it down a little bit. Now, of course, you can either come here to the brightness and adjust this a little bit, but I like to just come to the to the opacity. Let's pull that the whole way off, and then just slowly move it to the right and just add that darkness in there. Maybe right around there, right around 90%, 93%. So let's click the eye. Here's the before and there's the after. It just darkens it down a little bit. And if I want a little bit lighter, just move it to the left a little bit more. There's 64%, so there's before and after. Just, I think it brings it into balance a little bit better. So with that, I think we're done. Hold the presses, wait, there's more. Let me option click this layer mask. I think I may have darkened my eyes a little bit. Yes, you can see there, this mask got onto the eyes a little bit. So let me option click again here. I'm on a white brush, so I'm going to use the shortcut X and change that to a black brush. Make my brush a little bit smaller here. And make sure the opacity is at 100%, which it is. And I'm just going to paint on those eyes right there and right there, because I got a little bit on there. Now, if we option click the layer mask, look, I fixed it, I think. So now let's click the eyeball before and after. Yeah, now my eyes are staying nice and bright. Just needed that one last final change. Well, there's the glow filter. I hope you enjoyed it today. This video went a little bit long, but there's a lot to it, and thanks for bearing with me. If you liked the video today, please like it and share it with your friends. It really helps me out. And also, if you're not yet subscribed to my channel, please do so and click that bell notification icon. This way you'll be informed of all the new training videos I have coming out. Had a lot of fun today. Thanks for sticking with me. And I'll see everybody right here in the Joy of Editing with Dave Kelly next time.